Hi, this is Tracy Vinson again with the Autism Training Center at Marshall University. Hopefully by now you've got to watch Julie O'Malley's visual supports and my first then video. Now today we're going to talk about how to use a visual schedule. So what is a visual schedule? A visual schedule is going to be a representation of what's going on, what's going to happen throughout that day within a task or an activity. So when is this visual schedule going to be useful or helpful? It's going to help the individual be able to break down a task into multiple steps or to ensure the teaching that's going to following of that individual step. It's also going to help the individual with decreasing anxiety, help them transition by communicating when certain activities are going to occur throughout the day and or a part of that person's day. So how do I teach and how do I use it? So it's really important after the person understands the concept of sequencing activities throughout the use of that first then board or first then card. If you haven't watched the video already, please go back and, like I said, watch Julie O'Malley's visual supports and my other one on using the first then card. So now we're going to be working on, after using the first then card, how to use the visual schedule is how can you develop a more complex schedule for a series of activities for that individual throughout their day. So first and most importantly, we need to decide what activities that you're going to embed in the individual schedule. Some examples would be at school. This is just an example of one. So here at school, they may be going to music, centers here, it's story time, snack, there's a surprise, and they get to go home and they take the card off, and they move it over here into their finished pocket. What we have here is a now card and a next card. Okay, so now we're going to be working with music, then next we're going to go to centers. Okay, these serve as a very important tool because it may help with that transition for them to go see their schedule, and I'm going to talk a little bit more how to introduce the schedule. Okay, so this is an idea of just a generic example of a visual schedule for school. Also, here's a little bit more fancier one that we have. And this pocket folder I actually found at the Family Dollar. These were for $1 and very inexpensive. This schedule here is for maybe one of my little guys at home. So when he wakes up in the morning, he wakes up, he gets dressed. It's just a sequence of events, okay? Then when he gets home from school, he has his snack, etc. Evening, it's his evening routine. So again, you need to choose activities that's going to help. It's going to happen in that particular order throughout the individual's day. And we want to try to mix in preferred activities with non-preferred activities. For example, I have down here that he has TV time, and then he's going to have his homework, and then we're going to go back over to something else he may find reinforcing. Okay, so here's an example, and you can see at the bottom I've also included that first then card. If you keep all your visuals together, it's much more easy and more convenient for you and the individual that you're working with. Okay, it's really important, and there's no right or wrong picture that you can use for your visual schedules. You can use actual photographs, which that's what I enjoy doing, is actual photographs of the individual's schedule throughout their day. I go into the schools, homes, I have parents, the teachers get me actual photographs of their day, their assignments, their agenda books, whatever. It's more concrete, it's more visual, and it's actually what's happening. So actual photographs, you can go onto Google and Google Images. There are several ways that you can get the actual photos for your visual schedule. You can actually even use written words. For example, here is a schedule of one of my students that I have. He was in middle school, and it's just a written visual schedule of his day. So nothing fancy, didn't need any visuals for this. So like I said, it could be written words. You can actually use actual objects. I have actually laminated goldfish crackers as rewards, pencils, erasers, things that I have needed. So whatever, again, is best fits and individualized for the individual that you're working with. Okay, so again, that's going to show the activities, and everything is going to be in order on your visual schedule. Your schedule can be portable. For example, there's no right or wrong way. Again, I cannot stress again, being individualized. Your schedule can be in a binder. You can actually have it in on a little key ring. And again, most importantly, it doesn't have to be actual pictures. You can just write it on a dry erase board and have them check off. Here's an example. You know, he goes to the bathroom, he has free time, and it is just written on a dry erase board, and he monitors himself with a check mark. Nothing fancy. Okay. Also, this is one I'm really fond of. It's very portable. I go to Lowe's and I take the paint stirrers from Lowe's, and on this one it is, they go to homeroom, they go to reading, they have a break, then it's math time. Another way we can use this, and I use this, is, so let's say when he goes into reading, I will have that there, and on the back I will break down what does he need during reading class. He needs to have his book open, he may need to have his paper, a pencil, you know, so I will have those pictures on the back of this as a visual reminder of what is needed during that setting on his schedule. In other places, you can put them on your refrigerator home, your wall. We position them on top of the kids' desks. I've used rulers. And if you want to get more fancy, you can put them on your iPods, your iPads. So again, there's numerous, endless possibilities in using your visual schedule. So the first thing you need to be able to do to see the schedule at the beginning of each day. So the student needs to come up and look at their visual schedule. So it needs to be in visual proximity where they can see it for the remaining of the rest of their activities throughout their day. So when it's time for an activity on the schedule to occur, you need to cue the individual with a brief, very important, a brief verbal instruction. For example, say, check the schedule, look at your schedule. That's going to prompt them to go to their schedule, hopefully. This helps the person be able to pay attention and to see what next activity is going to begin within their day. At first, here's some ideas or suggestions. You may need to physically guide the person to check the schedule. Gently guide them by their shoulders. You may want to prompt the person by pointing to the next activity on the schedule. This will ensure them that this is what you're wanting them to do, to come look at the schedule. You can eventually gradually start decreasing physical prompts as they begin to use the schedule more independently. Okay, and again, we have to teach, very, very important, we have to teach the schedule. We can't expect them, because it's posted, that they're actually following the steps. We have to teach each step individually to that individual. So when that task is complete, we need to cue the person to check the schedule again using the same procedure that we talked about, and go and help transition to the next activity. This is just a daily schedule. Now, it is an option. There are times here. I'm just telling you, just from my experience working with, doing this for as long as I have, I very rarely do I put actual times. This one has times that you can write in, because sometimes, if this time's going to happen and it doesn't, it may create issues. So again, I usually don't use the times. So they go to breakfast, then they can actually transition and move the card over. So there's several ways to use, the visual schedule to help transition to the next activity. So again, it's very important, once they actually are using their visual schedule, they're actually coming to their board, that you need to provide them praise and positive reinforcement to teach that person to follow that schedule, because again, this is going to help them transition and help complete in doing those activities on a day-to-day basis. It's also going to be very helpful. You could use actually a timer to help with that physical transition. They, auditory wise, they can hear that, and where it will make that transition time more clear for them. Okay, it's really important too, eventually, once they're more comfortable, they're using the visual schedule, we need to allow for variability into their individual schedule. What I mean by that is we need to introduce a symbol that may resemble or represent an unknown activity, like an oops card, a surprise card. It could be a blank card. We can call it a distractor card. It could be a question mark. Again, that's just going to provide that that something unknown is going to happen. So we need to begin to teach this concept by pairing it with something that's more positive activity or a surprise within that daily schedule. Then we're going to gradually use this for unexpected changes in that individual schedule or routine. Okay? Again, I cannot stress the importance that I want you to remember how important it is to teach them how to use their visual schedule. And make it more interesting to them. Use things that they find reinforcing. For example, I have a visual schedule here that one of my clients that I was working with she loves SpongeBob, and she picked out the pictures and we use SpongeBob. She gets dressed and she marks it off. She brushes her teeth, combs her hair. That's her morning schedule. So again, find those things that's going to be reinforcing, that's going to catch their attention. I've used trains, I've used dinosaurs, I've made space ships, you name it, I've done it. So very, very important. Teach that schedule and be consistent. Thank you for watching. Again, my name is Tracy Vincent with the Autism Training Center. For more information, please go to our website and we will give you those links throughout this presentation. Thank you, and hopefully you'll tune in again.